let's now shift our attention to Group C, another NA team here, TSM. They are joined by FNATIC, Gen G, and LGD Gaming. My first question, Tyler, here is there have been two different LGD gamings that we have seen so far at Worlds. We saw the first half LGD gaming where they were on pace to be the biggest disappointment of Worlds 2020. They were definitely on that route. They were on pace. They were showing cracks. Peanut wasn't playing to his potential. We were seeing cracks in the armor. We were seeing a team that we thought we were ranking LGD above teams that were already qualified in groups. And we were saying, my goodness, a kingdom is falling right before our eyes. But then we saw, as we got to the business end of things, when it really mattered, when their backs were against the wall, we saw them get the job done. Now, it should be said that those teams are not to the caliber of teams, perhaps on paper at least. I'm not dismissing any talent here. I'm just saying, on paper, these teams certainly look good or better at the group stage. So now LGD find themselves surrounded by FNATIC and Gen G and TSM. And my first question is, based on what you've seen, based on the sample size that we have of LGD and being slotted into this group, which they were always destined to do because they're every other group as the Chinese team already, what do you think of them compared to these teams?
It's so hard to have a belief in them after seeing them in the play-in stage, but you also have to remember so many times we've had playoff play-in teams like Cloud9, G2, even FNATIC back in the day. Like we've had some play-in teams who've had so records. Cloud9 barely getting out of groups last year or getting out of play-ins last year. Splice barely getting out of play-ins last year, and both those teams made top 8. In Cloud9's case, they made top 4. For me, if LGD is Peanut looks better. I need to see him against better competition, against a self-made or Clid before I say he's fully back. But he looks a lot better. GA, again, same thing, bully Tally, but you're not going to be able to bully BDD or Bjergsen or even Nemesis in the mid lane. It's not going to be the same thing. And that's no offense to Tally. He's a top mid laner. I think Lungji in the top lane has been excellent. I think he's been generally the most overlooked member of the team, but he's been the most consistent member throughout the entire tournament for me, and he's been excellent. The point I look to at LGD and I wonder, can they turn up or will they get run over? Similarly to Finn in Group B is, I look at Kramer and I've not been impressed almost the entire playing tournament. Generally, Mark leaves in the early game to roam around the map, and he and Kramer usually plays very boring, standard, safe 80 carries like Jhin or Ezreal, just a free farm. Get into that mid to late game where they can team fight. And there's been instances in this tournament where he's been caught out. He's been playing far too forward without Mark, babysitting him. He's trying to take these wacky 1v1s that he's lost. He's been caught out in Dragon Pit fights. Like, his positioning hasn't been the best for an AD carry of his caliber. And Kramer's a very good player, but at Worlds 2018, he underperformed on Afrika, getting bounced out by Cloud9 in the quarterfinals, famously. And now again, he's seemingly underperforming at Worlds again, where I don't think he's been, a horror show. I don't think he's been as bad as some other hyped up players like Shadow, who just didn't have a great tournament all around. And he still has a lot of time to make up for it. But Kramer's the player I look at and I say, I still don't fully trust him, and I would need to see Peanut against better competition. So LG, this group is the group. It's open. It's so open. Any of these 4 teams can qualify. It's very hard to place where I place each team. I think this will be the group that kills a lot of people in pick'ems, where I think there's gonna be a lot of different combinations people have. LGD for me, I just can't believe in them right now. I think more staunch LGD supporters, people who've been watching them all year long. I've been generally watching them in the playoffs. Very impressive in the playoffs, not so much in the play-ins. And my last impression is them in the play-ins, even though they've reeled off 7 straight, there's still these holes in their game where I feel like if a better team was in control of their opponent, they're getting bopped. If TSM takes over, the legacy spot, where they play today in game 2, TSM is going to win that game no matter how you think of TSM. So For this group, I have LGD number 4. I have FNATIC number 3.
Ooh.
I have yeah. I'm going
What?
TSM.
What?
Yeah. I'm back, baby. I tricked you again. I'm back on the NA train, baby. TSM number 2, Gen G number 1. For TSM, it comes down to Bjergsen. I think this is the worlds of for Bjergsen. If he does not perform here, if he does not perform in this meta, I don't know when he is going to perform. This meta suits him so well. It suits him so well. Almost every single of his historic, like when you look at his stats page and you just look down of like who his most successful champions are, with Azir, Orianna, Syndra, all these champions are viable and in meta right now. These are all the perfect picks. Everything is set up for him to excel. I think his Zillion, his signature pocket pick, works very well in this meta where we have a lot of 5v5 team fights. I can't wait to see Hecarim and Zillion paired up. I need to see that happen. Please, TSM. I need to see my Z-Man in this tournament. I've been just waiting for a team to pick Zillion. No one has so far in these crazy team fight comps. But I think TSM, and it's mostly, I believe in Bjergsen. I think the bottom lane will perform better. I think Biofos in this engaged champion meta where it's all about engaged champions, especially Rakan, he'll be fine. I think Doublelift looked a lot better at the tail end of the playoffs. Broken Blade, I feel confident in. I think it comes down to Spica, and I believe in Spica? That's a question.
Do we believe in Spica? I will say this. I will say this about Spica. He's been great on Graves in the LCS, and Graves is definitely in meta, and I imagine that Graves will continue to be in meta. So if he gets the Graves, I think he will have. And I know that he's still very young. He's still a rookie for all intents and purposes, and you know, like he's still building that chemistry with TSM, surrounded by veterans. But really, we've been singing his praises a lot, him and Broken Blade both. So now we see them at TSM at Worlds, and there are some picks, like the Graves that I'm highlighting here, that he's looked very comfortable on in professional play. So that at least is an advantage or in the plus column for them.
And they can flex the Shen around. The Shen is a very, it means high-end priority pick in general in the play-in stage. But, you know, we saw the River Shen. I don't know if the River Shen works at Worlds against, you know, Peanut and Clid, but it's another pick where it's another, you know, pocket pick like that Zillion where you can bring something new to the table that I think does fit in this meta currently. So I'm basically betting. Am I betting on Spica or I'm betting on Nemesis? Because Nemesis hasn't had the greatest year. Nemesis might get toppled over in the mid lane. Am I picking Spica or Nemesis? I overall am just going with Bjergsen. You know me, Arda. I've put my flag in the Bjergsen hill. I've stood. I've been staunch on this hill. I went down with a proper fight in the top 20 when they jettisoned Bjergsen from the top 20 list, and I would not stand for it. But now, again, I'm putting all my chips on the Bjergsen table, man. This has to be his tournament. If he doesn't perform well at this tournament, he's never going to perform well at World. Like, it just has to be this tournament. Everything is going for him. He's in great shape from everything I've heard from people in the bubble. He's doing well. He's doing amazingly on the super server. Like, everything points to TSM or at least Bjergsen doing really well. And we've seen how important a strong, stable mid laner has been so far in this tournament. And if you don't have one, it just breaks everything down. So I believe in him.
He already has a lot of accomplishments domestically, and this could be his magnum opus internationally. We shall wait and see, of course.